This is a special edition of the Weekend News. If you are just joining us, we have the latest now on this mass shooting in Orlando, Florida, a massacre in a gay nightclub that occurred in the early hours this morning and is now the worst mass shooting in American history. At least 50 people were killed. Most of their bodies are still inside the club. The shooting began after 2 o'clock this morning. The gunman, Omar Mateen, was an American. He was a security guard who had pledged his loyalty to ISIS during a 911 call during his attack on the club. He was killed in a shootout with police. There were about 300 people in the club sipping their last drinks before the club closed. With more on that, we have Mark Strassman.
15 minutes after last call, bartender Tiffany Johnson heard something ominous. Was that a gunshot?
We thought it was like the stereo. We're like, oh my goodness, something went on with the, just the music. And after the second shot, there was a pause, and then it just started shooting.
Then, bedlam. Partiers hit the deck. Others hid under tables or ran into bathrooms. Roughly 300 people were trapped inside. 1 in 6 would die. Haniel Gonzalez has 3 friends missing.
People are screaming, help me, I'm trapped. And people are getting trampled. Like, there was no clear exit sign at the club, so we didn't know which door to take or where to go.
So you heard a couple shots, and did you hit the deck right away, or?
It was like kind of like a little duck,
Josh McGill ran out the back exit, hopped a fence, and saved a life. He found a man lying on the ground, moaning. Did he look wounded?
Like, he looked like he got shot, but didn't realize he got shot.
27-year-old Rodney Sumter was wounded in both arms and the upper back.
And the officer was like, there's no ambulance responding at the moment, but we're going to send you in a police car. So the police officer turned to me and said, I want you to bear hug him, keep him conscious. And I was like, okay. So I was like, I don't know if you're religious, but I feel like I need to say a prayer. I was like, you're going to be fine. I was like, I got you, man.
McGill told me he has yet to process how lucky he is to be alive. He has also yet to reach Sumter in the hospital. But Scott, he was told there that the man he helped rescue is expected to live.
Mark Strassman, thank you so much, Mark.
No one will ever be able to relate to what those people went through in that nightclub in Orlando. But the media helps us get a better idea. The constant media attention and focus surrounding mass shootings is a big part of our society and important to our country. The coverage given to mass shootings in our country through the media is an important coping mechanism for those who've lost someone in a mass shooting and is a key component of our country's history that needs to be remembered. Victims' families and loved ones want to see those whom they've lost honored in remembrance. Candlelight vigils, like the one seen in this picture, are signs that families and loved ones want the person who they've lost to be remembered and honored as the person they were for years and years to come. In a Time article, Mark Barden, who lost his 7-year-old son in the Connecticut school shooting, responded to the recent Orlando shooting at a nightclub by saying, I will never say I know what you're going through. I will tell them that I have a sense of what that pain feels like. I'm hurting with you. Even though Mark Barden lost his son in a different situation, he still is able to connect with the Orlando victims' families in sharing their grief of losing someone to a mass shooting. It is important for people who share a similar tragedy like a mass shooting to support each other through the stages of grief and through the rest of their lives. Anyone connected to a mass shooting event will never be the same, and without the media attention these events get now, they may feel alone in trying to move on with their lives. Whether it be chat rooms or articles or an interview on TV, whenever someone sees that they are supported as they progress through a tragedy, it helps with the coping process. In a PBS article after the Orlando shooting, an Orlando police officer said, "We are a strong and resilient community. Tonight we have had a crime that will have a lasting effect on our community. We need to stand strong. We need to be supportive of the families and victims. This is a time we should all come together." Many argue that the extensive media coverage on mass shootings is a negative influence on those in our society seeking attention. They say that it encourages people in dark places who are seeking attention to plan similar events and execute them. However, the percentage of people in such a dark place actually executing these plans is much smaller than those affected by a mass shooting who need the media attention and support. In addition to remembering the victims, society needs to know what major events are happening in our country on a day-to-day basis, whether they are good or bad. Horrific events like mass shootings are a part of this country's history and should not be shuffled under the rug in the midst of other news. As seen in these images of headlines from mass shootings, these events are, have been, and always will be a big part of this country's history, and it is up to us to appropriately address the media attention. USC law professor Ariella Gross made the following comment in an LA Times article after the Orlando shooting. It's important to put the Pulse shooting in historical context, not to minimize the terror wreaked by a disturbed and bigoted individual's easy access to military-grade weapons, but to recognize that gun culture in the U.S. has gone hand in hand with violent hatred for a long time. Mass shootings are important events to record in history, to prevent future ones, and to look back at what might have been the cause of them. A law professor, Arielle Gross, commented, "We need to put mass shootings in our country's history to bring to light the real problems our country is facing, like gun control. By bringing into the light the underlying issues in the U.S., we are able to adjust laws or take precautions to make our country a safer place." Clearly, we still have a lot to learn about such events, as Grant Dew, the Director of Research and Evaluation at the Minnesota Department of Corrections, comments the following on mass shootings. Our understanding of this topic, even though it is better than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago, is still imperfect. Some people argue that the over-dramatization of these events portrayed in the media leads to unnecessary panic and stress. However, events as big as mass shootings need to arouse alarm across the country and act as a wake-up call to what is not working in our society. No matter how much drama is added to a news story on a mass shooting, the fact is that people died, and many lives were changed because of that event. So it is a big deal. Media attention given to mass shootings helps with the mourning process for families and creates a learning experience for society. The victims deserve to be remembered, and our country needs to be aware of these tragedies so that we may come together to support one another and take precautions to prevent future events like these. So join me in helping support our media sources and be a part in knowing the history of our country.